Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So far we have been doing this wonderful build of how a word prediction model works, and we've been trying to replicate the functionality of the word suggestions in the Google search pages. So we have been successful so far. Until now we've been able to build a word prediction to one word at a time, one next word. So let's try and add more functionalities to it. If the model feels that 2 3 words could be could predicted, more than one word could be predicted, right? So say for example, if you want, like we take the example wherein the user types in iPhone as the first word, so it could be predicting iPhone's price, iPhone's price, iPhone's 10, iPhone 11, iPhone 12, everything one word at a time. So or it could predict more than one word if the model feels confident. So say for example, it could predict iPhone price in India, or I could predict iPhone price in Dubai, or iPhone price in different places. So if the model feels that giving more than one word prediction at a time is a better way do the prediction, so we want it to do it. So and it wanted to stop it when it feels that it is no longer a good thing to predict further. So this is what we are going to do. Add that functionality to see how much often how much it becomes better, to be able to understand the user, give it suggestions as and thing. So even if when we are giving multiple predictions, or some of them would be one word at one, some of the predictions would be one word, some of the predictions would be more than one word. So that would be so much interesting. So let's go ahead and build that. So that's the next step for us. So let's go ahead and build that. So without further delay, let's get right into it.
In this case, so we have we've taken a really perfect Google page. So there is three types of predictions the Google page is making here, right? So you're able to see, so there is one first thing when I type iPhone, it's actually making a prediction saying iPhone 12, iPhone 11, and there is a third type. It not only is making one word prediction at a time, it's making more than one word at a time. So this is first word, this is the second word, and this is the third word. So far we have been able to achieve this type of predictions where it predicts only one word at a time. So now we are going to try and make predictions, more than one predictions at a time, as long as the model feels that it's doing a good job, it can still continue to make predictions, right? So that is the biggest challenge that we have right now. So where do we stop this prediction? So we should set a threshold saying that you can continue to make predictions, but you can't just keep going. You need to stop at some point, right? So how do we make it happen? So that is what we are going to do now. So what we are going to do is, so first thing that we are going to do is try to come up with 3 or 4 options that is reasonable. Say maximum 4 options, but if it's exceeding, if it is within a certain threshold, then we'll drop it. So what do I mean by that? It's say for example, I have four, I have another, prediction that it is making, right? Say there could be, depending on the vocabulary, it can make a lot of, every word in the vocabulary will have a probability value, right? Say for, there could be thousands of words, and every word will have a, so in this case, they have only picked the top 3 predictions here. So what do I mean by that? The first priority was given to prices. So because it feels prices is the best thing here, and second priority is given to 12 because 12 is a recent model, and third priority is given to 11. And there could be another 4, 5, 6. It could keep going, depending on end of the vocabulary size, right? So if the vocabulary size is 1 lakh words, there will be 1 lakh words, but this will have the top 3 ranking. So that's why this is being shown. So how do I decide only I show 3 here, right? So there should be a threshold value that's telling me, say for example, the probability, if the probability of these items are probably zero point 0.8, the chances that the user is going to type prices after iPhone is zero point 0.8, right? Out of, obviously out of 1. So, and the probability of this, user typing 12 after this is probably zero point 0.5, and here zero point 0.4, and then there is zero point 0.3. So sorry, zero point 0.3, and then it goes down 0.1, 0.0001, point blah blah, 0.0002, and it keeps going down, right? So the Google page has set a threshold saying that only if the threshold is above zero point 0.4, right? 0.4 or above, you show it in the UI. So that is the Google page has done. So let's say if I have set the threshold as 0.3, it would have given me one more option here, right? I would have seen something else like iPhone 8 probably, right? This is only my guess, but it could be, right? So iPhone 8 is iPhone 8, iPhone 10R, it could be anything. So that's the threshold that the Google page has set to say that everything above this, only the best ones should be shown. And similarly, after this word, so this is first type of threshold, right? First type of threshold. And there is a second type of threshold. So let's take this example where it says iPhone prices in India. So similar to how we have predicted, so the first thing that it's going to do is take this as our input seed. Obviously, this is input seed. Predict the first word here. So this is the first word. And then it's going to take these two together as the input seed, and it's going to predict the second word here. And then it's going to take all the three together as a seed, and then it's going to word the third word here. So at every step, now what it's doing is it's taking only the best of the best. Say for example, at every step, when it's making the first prediction, it would have had n number of the entire vocab size would have had probabilities, but it picked only the best one because the prices had the out of all of them, the prices had the highest probability after iPhone, right? The threshold is set so high that it picked only one out of all the thing, right? It doesn't matter. So we are telling it only if the threshold is so high, you pick it. So that's how it is done, right? So it picked, and the next time it's doing it, they would have said the same threshold, saying only if the threshold is above 0.8, go for the next prediction, and it's same thing. So it keeps, so, and there might be another one followed by this, right? With probability 0.5, right? Say iPhone prices in India for you know for something, right? So it could be anything, right? So we don't know what user might type. So for my sister, maybe the user might type for my sister something. We don't know what the user might type, but these are very low probability things. So this area, the UI, Google page did not show because they feel only these three has the highest, the good ones. So they stopped it there. They don't want us to see the stupid ones, right? So only the confident ones we want to see. So that is what now is happened here. So this is the second type of threshold. So these two thresholds we need to set, to be able to achieve this, right? To be able to achieve this one. So that's what we are going to do now. So let's jump into it now, see how that is done. So now we are going to write two types of functions now. So we are going to type two types of functions. So the first type of function basically does as simple as that. So it will assuming that we want only four options to show in suggestions, right? So it will basically take in iPhone as the input seed and generate four predictions. So it will basically say iPhone prices. Then the second highest probability value probably 12 and 10, and then 10R, right? So with different 0.8, probability of 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, and zero point 0.4 probably, right? So 4 options. So so this is what it does. So now let's assume that we have set a threshold of so we're going to set a threshold of 0.6, 0.6, and so now out of this four, only these three will be filtered. It's 12 and 10, and these three will be returned back to us. So the return value would basically iPhone prices, iPhone 12, iPhone 10. So this would be returned, right? So this is first function for us. So the second function, is a little bit more interesting because so the second function basically is going to do take the output from this function. So whatever is being returned from this function as input, take one value at a time. Take, say for example, iPhone prices first as the input seed, and it's going to predict one word next. So it will pick only the best one. So say for example, it could have three options here. iPhone prices in for iPhone prices Dubai something, right? So but this has the highest probability. Let's assume that this one has the highest probability, something very high as 0.8, 0.3, 0.2 something, right? 0.2 something. So this function, notice you want to pick the top one. So it will basically doesn't matter what the threshold is. It matters in a different way, but it will basically take this one function out, right? And then it will check if the threshold, then it will check if the threshold is greater than 0.8, right? And only if threshold is greater than 0.8, it will just let it through, and then it will take that the entire thing as an input seed, and then it go for next prediction. So iPhone prices in, right? So the entire thing is sent to the next prediction, and you got the next prediction, right? So even here it follows the same routine. So I'm just gonna quickly show you what happens to the other things. So now let's take this example. What happens here is it says iPhone. So ideally we are supposed to process all the three things, right? So this is first one, and now I'm gonna process the second one. So iPhone 12. So basically it will try to come up with 3-4 predictions here. Say for example, what could be the next 3 predictions? iPhone 12 prices, iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 12 Max Pro, something, right? So this could be the thing. So but here notice we don't want the second, the people who got second prize and third prize. So we want only the prices, and now we are applying the threshold here and see if the prices value is greater than 0.8. But unfortunately prices has value only 0.7, so we ignore it and we return saying that you don't have anything beyond iPhone 12. So same things happen for same scenario happens for iPhone iPhone 10 as well. So finally what you have is so you have iPhone prices in India, then you have iPhone 12, and then iPhone 10. So these are the two functions. So this is done by these two functions. So the first function basically figures out what are the immediate next 4 options that it could provide. So depending on the threshold, it could be 4 or it could be less than 4. We set the so it could be less than 4. In this case, the XR got removed. So we got only 3 options here. The next function takes these 3 and then finds out how many more it can go ahead. So it took the first one in, and now it found that it is it is above the threshold, and then it took India and found that it is also above threshold, and then it found something else. It does not come after this, so it just stopped there. And it took iPhone 12 the same way, and it found that there are predictions after it. There is prices comes after it, but it's not above the threshold, so it stopped there. Similarly, after iPhone 10, there is something else which is not above the threshold, so it stopped there. So that's how we got these 3 options, right? So we have 2 functions here, the function 1 and function 2. So these 2 functions we are going to build now, right? Okay, so let's take a look at these 2 functions here. So how these things are done. So the first step, so let's start with the 4 option function, right? So that is a first function that we want. So this is the 4 option function. So what it is doing is basically picking the top 4, right? So head 4 basically gives the top 4 values, right, among the things, and then it checks among the 4 if any of one of them does not meet the threshold that is defined here. So the threshold, where it's checking if any one of the 4 is not good enough. So in our case, out of the 4, there will be only 3 that qualifies here. So it will basically have to drop the last one. So it will pick only the one that is really good, right? So that's what it is doing. So the output of this function would basically be a Boolean. So let's try and print it and see what's happening here. Okay, so if you see here, so this is corresponding to some. So the first word has a very high probability, that's 0.4, and then 0.2, and then 0.05 and 0.05. The last 2 are very low. So assuming that you set a probability here, let's see. Okay, so assuming that so I might have to set this. Let's see. Let me place it above. Okay, so we have the top 4 here. So you could see that we have the top 4 here. So assuming that I've set the threshold as 0.1, so I've set the threshold as 0.1. So only these 2 qualify, and the other 2 doesn't qualify. So basically, right? So the iPhone prices and the iPhone 10, something like that. iPhone 12 qualified, the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 10R did not qualify. So that's an analogy that we have been looking at. So that's what saying this is false, you don't want this, just drop it. It's basically what we are saying. So that's what basically is being done here, and then it will return the value basically. So let's try and print our 4 options and see what are the 4 options that it is giving us. So we'll have to convert it back to character, obviously. So what it's saying is, wonder what will happen, and then it is saying T and a space. So those are the 2 words it's actually predicting. So it's telling that just predict T and space. So that's what you want. So just we are all good, right? So don't forget about the other 2 options. That's not good enough. You don't want it. Now we want to continue the predictions for these 2, right? So we want to continue after what comes after T and what comes after space here. So that's where we go into the next function, which is basically generate text one option until it breaks. So until we break the loop. So that's what it means. So you pick the top one. Now if you remember, we picked the top one, iPhone prices in, right? So there could be a lot of other options after iPhone prices, but we want to pick the in because that's the top best option, one option, and we want to check that in is above the threshold. So we are checking the threshold after we pick the in. So we are not checking the threshold and picking the in, right? So the threshold doesn't come into picture while picking the in. The threshold comes into picture after we pick the in, because we want only the best option as in, and then see if we want to stop there or just continue, there, right? So that's the big difference here. So that's what that's being done by your next this particular function. It's still the same, so it has some for loop and all those things, so there is nothing new here. You have predict model, we try and do all this, and finally the only difference that you will see with that function is that it basically checks to see if that particular one prediction that we are picking, that's the head value that you're picking, is really above the threshold, right? You don't, there you would have seen that we picked 4 options. So here we are picking only one option, so that is very important. So we are picking only one option. There we picked 4 options and then tried to reduce that 4 options to less than reduce that to 3 or 2. Here we are picking one option and we are seeing if we should retain that one option or just stop it there, right? We don't, whether we should continue or whether we should take that one option at all, right? We taking one option and see if we want that one option at all. So that's what we are doing here. So we are checking if that that one option is really above. So, and if not, we'll just break the loop, right? So we don't want to continue that predictions of that particular option. So this is done for out of all the 4, right? So this is being done for each and every iPhone. Then first it will do for iPhone prices, and then it will break. Then it will do for iPhone 12 and do a couple of iterations and break, and then iPhone 10 and do a couple of iterations and break, right? So for iPhone prices, it will continue a couple of iterations, but the other two, it won't even do a couple of iterations. It will just break right there because there is nothing more to proceed upon. So that's something we should remember, right? So that is what this function is basically doing, and then finally we return the entire thing back to this function. So let's give it a try. So here I've set a threshold as 0.1 here also to know how far it should go. Now we take these 2 options, these top 2 options, right? So these top 2 options, that is these 2 options that we have, and pass it one item at a time to the next one option function. So first this one goes in, and it goes only one iteration basically. It doesn't so okay, sorry. So it goes a couple of iterations here. So basically it has gone 4 iterations, if I'm not wrong. It has gone 4 iterations, and it found that every time the prediction is above 0.5, above 0.1. So everything is 0.5, 0.6, this is 0.1 or 0.2, right? So because 0.1 was, if you remember, 0.1 was our threshold. Every time it is above 0.1, so it just keeps allowing until that, and then at some point, so it did not so sorry. So till here it has been going. So there is like 4, that is like from 0 to 4, that is 5 steps it has gone. So if you see here, what will happen, THEST, so it's like basically gone 5 steps. So it is able to go 5 steps. So then so basically I'm gonna take this one, right? So then it starts. So once it breaks and comes out, so the next what it will do is this will actually basically take one at a time and then pass it to the function, right? So this list comprehension you'll probably able to see from the 4 options here, like this 1 and 2. So first this is passed to this function, and then this is passed to this function. So now once this is gone into the function, so let's see what is happening. Then it starts again from iteration 0. So it again passes a couple of iterations, right? 0.1, and this is again above 0.1, and this is again above 0.1, and 0.7, and 0.1. And after 4 iterations, it found that so if you remember, we set a limit saying that let's not go above 5. So maybe if let's say I set 10, then it might make a it will try and break at some point. Let's see. Looks like it did not break here also. Looks like everything is above 0.1. So maybe I'll go a little hard on it, set a tough, threshold, maybe like, point 3 maybe, right? Point 3. Let me go 3, and yep. So here, if you see, if the first one went a couple of iterations, 1, 2, 3, right? And at iteration 3, it fell below, right? So it went below. So it felt that, this is not worthy, and it stopped there. So basically, it went 3 iterations, right, from 0 to 2. So you have 3 words, that is T, H, and E, right? And similarly, um, the next one, right, it started with 1 iteration, and it did not move ahead at all, right? So even the first word prediction is below zero point 0.3, and it's just stopped there. So we can take this, an example, exactly as an example, that we have, that analogy that we had for iPhone prices. Say, for example, so this T is iPhone prices, then, then this one, H is in, and E is India, right? So it went till that and then stopped. And this one is basically has only one space here, right? So that we can it's with that analogy that we have, we could compare and say it is very similar to what we have for iPhone 10 or iPhone 12, right? So there is only one step it went, and after that it did not go because it's not good enough. So this is one way we could really, this is what basically what we have achieved here. So this work is entirely being done in that function. So we have very well simulated a scenario, exactly very similar to our Google word suggestion page, right? So now that we have successfully made this happen, the next big thing that we are going to do is we are going to put this into a front-end UI, which can actually show you how effective this is as a user is actually using it, right? So far we have been doing it everything in the backend, and we haven't been able to see what is happening. And for the first time, we are going to plug this into a UI. Now I'm just probably use a Ajax library, which can actually monitor every keystroke of mine and send that back to the backend server, and then the server basically does its thing, right? The code that we've been building so hard, and hopefully put it to good use, and then when it comes back, and we'll be able to see that when it returns predictions, you'll be able to see it's so interactive that you can just type around, and then it'll do so many magic around, right? So that's the beauty of it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this lecture, enjoyed this build basically. So I'm excited, and hopefully I hope you enjoyed it as well. So I'll let's meet in another session, and let's complete this build. Until then, see you all. Bye bye.